Market observations for the city of Rockingham in Perth, Western Australia. Now, this is a local government area that we in Private Advisory have been active in for some time, about 2 years. We've been in and out of this market, but you have to really pick the eyes out of it to invest there at the end of 22 into 2023. Obviously, Perth is an area of immense focus from our own perspective, from a property investment research perspective and acquisition perspective. We need to be careful around the suburbs we're buying in. So this is a deep dive on the Rockingham WA market to allow us to navigate it successfully for the opportunity that it remains, that still exists there, because we are still acquiring properties there when the right deal arrives. This will be a deeper dive looking at the local government area, the suburbs, and even potentially into a couple of streets, the types of properties to purchase. It is designed to be end to end. Let's jump right in. Property investment is a science, guys. It's not down to our gut feel, sticking our finger up in the air and trying to work out, talking to our Aunt Mabel at a recent barbecue after a couple of beers. This is about data, research, and removing emotion. This is a repeatable process that we have been the industry leaders in doing since 2011. We own all of our own data. We don't rely on third-party data sources. This gives us the control to be able to cleanse, interpret, and improve consistently. So we are at the forefront of property investment as a science. The market opportunity. This is about understanding the where, the longer-term ramifications that drive us towards this market. Unemployment is high in the Rockingham areas. This is up towards 9%. It's been stable now for a couple of years, but overall, nationwide, this is high unemployment. But we have to remember Rockingham is going through a reconnaissance. This is a type of area that is gentrifying, but some areas are being left off the cliff, right? Some areas we focus on, some areas have larger unemployment and potentially other negative factors. So we do need to be very picky. If we are using unemployment as a reason not to invest in this market, we would have missed out on all the capital growth that's occurred since 2018, 2019. And there has been a tremendous amount of capital growth, 40, 50, 60, even more than 60% capital growth in the last 2 years in some of the suburbs across Rockingham. So if you, and this is a good example, if you use one metric to justify a yes or a no, then you might miss out on some of the strongest capital growth opportunities in the country, which Rockingham has been in the last 2 years. It has been top 3 local government areas in terms of overall opportunity and capital growth performance over this time. So whilst this is high and it is increasing, it's not a positive sign in isolation. We cannot get fixated on one particular metric. It needs to be considered in scope and alignment to other metrics. Population growth, it is still increasing, guys. It's over 2.5%. It has been as high as 3% per annum. It is still very high nationwide. So this might be a factor of lots of people want to move here, lots of people are moving there, and they have the safety of moving there without a job to go to. And then once they arrive, they are then going and looking for work. That might be one of the reasons why we have high population growth and high unemployment. Another reason might be that it's just cheap housing. It's all people can afford, all people can find a property to live in, and then they don't have a job to go to because they're desperate to find anywhere to live. The second case, that case is probably not likely because we know we have extremely tight vacancy rates, rents going through the roof and property prices going through the roof. So it's potentially the latter that is the reason for that high unemployment. Let's dive over into some other, larger, higher layer, local government area level facets. Overall, the city of Rockingham in WA is assessed as average. It has come off the ball quite quickly, but for us, we know the potential and what has been going on the ground there is outstanding. And remember, we can't fall into the trap. We are not buying shares in Rockingham. We have to buy one dwelling in one street in one suburb. There are certain suburbs in Rockingham that are showing outstanding potential on a national level. So when we look into this data at a local government area level, it might not be looking so rosy, but we have to pick our eyes through it and combine the L.G.A suburban street together to form our overall assessment. So let's have a look at this. Employment diversity, average income growth very low, commute time low. This is a story of a low socio area that's undergoing dramatic gentrification because of its price point. It's suddenly a lot cheaper than other coastal areas within the greater region. Why would you pay $500,000 to live 5 minutes or 10 minutes from the beach, 10 minutes from the beach, when you can pay $400,000 to be on its doorstep, close to train lines and, north to Perth? That is the reasons why we are potentially coming in and isolating this city of Rockingham as a very strong up-and-coming area. Lifestyle factors, it is very strong on a national level. I would argue about this purely algorithmic perspective because we do have beaches, employment, great sources of amenity, airports to the north. Overall, this is a great lifestyle area that really is still affordable to enter. Population growth. It has been as high as up to 5% in the last decade. Now it's come back to more average levels, but it is still exhibiting signs of strong undersupply and very strong capital growth projections for the next 3 years. Overall, a reason for this increase in unemployment is potentially because of the very high levels of population growth it has recently been experiencing. New construction, guys, there's no point in having good, strong population growth forecasted when it is matched or exceeded by new homes in the construction pipeline. And this is a really strong story because we've got inland suburbs that have been built overnight. The more houses that are built there, the more attractive all of these houses along the coast are. This is all the ocean here, guys. This should be blue, but it's white here. This is oceanfront. And we can see all of these suburbs are very established with under 2% new supply in the pipeline, apart from this one down here. But from there north, very little opportunity to build new dwellings. And remember, with all of this population coming into the area and the best locations already built out, it puts tremendous price pressure on these suburbs. Okay, so let's dive into that. Overall, we can navigate this local government area. Good new projects, outstanding city that it's attached to that's got amazing capabilities and potential for the next 10 to 15 years. When you navigate the new construction and we position ourselves here strategically, we can do very well. Number 1 on the list, Hillman as a suburb. It is much lower in price point to many of its neighbours, even still. Okay, it has undergone some very strong recent price growth. It is a small suburb. Potentially we might need to dive a little bit deeper into these individual suburbs. But first, I want to now look at, is it the time to be buying here overall? We don't want to get distracted by the suburbs individually. We want to stay up at the local government area level and determine, is this market, the push and pull, the demand supply working in our favour? Days on market. I want to look at the red line. Houses still under 20. It's an extremely heated market. Percentage of immediate sales at a very high point. It has come off the boil slightly, but still a lot of heat in this market. June was a high point, but still we are above average levels of immediate sales. A number of properties that sell within the first week of listing in this suburb. And overall, nationally, this is extremely high. So there's a lot of heat here overall at a local government area level. We had a dip here, but once again, back to the normal levels of supply. The days of supply is just constricting here, almost at unprecedented levels, right? Look at the drop off on this from almost 100 days down to 50 in a 12-month period is unheard of. There's a huge amount of buying buying activity here, and this is causing a huge amount of pressure into this market. Asking prices, as expected, just keep pushing right into October, November of this year. We've come from 420,000 12 months ago up to 475,000 12 months later. A lot of pressure. Vendor discounting has started to come off the boil slightly, but properties are still selling for a lot higher than their asking price. This is the blue line that I'm looking for here. Now, sold prices have just hit a short-term plateau. Okay, that's what you would expect with the level of buying activity that's in this market. Things turning over at these record levels. You've seen this very strong increases in price, from 350,000 now to over 450,000 in the last 2 years alone. This is what we're talking about on a national, best performing area level. Is there much steam left in this market? We can see that it is pumping on all cylinders. It's firing on all cylinders. Discounting, suburb discounting has just backed off a little bit. Sold prices have just backed off a little bit. Have we reached a market top here? Let's have a look at the rental side of the market. This is a working class area. It is home to a lot of lipstick type of properties. It's a type of area where the rental market leads the buy side. It goes in short 6 to 12 month cycles where the rental market leads forth, rents go through the roof, suddenly people can't afford to rent, they go to buy. Then the buy moves, the buy price move, people can't afford to buy, they go back to renting. And this flip-flops back and forth. These transient, investor-led, rental-led markets go in cycles led by the rental market first. And we can see we have gone another leg down on the days of rental market. It has plateaued and now tightened dramatically. We are now seeing renewed, tightness in the rental market. Vacancy rates. So this is the days it's taking to rent a property, but the overall vacancy rate is relatively stable. So this is suggesting to us that the real factor here is a number of rental properties available. Asking price for rentals is going through the absolute roof, right? From $450 in the middle of the year up to now $490 a week in rent. You're still seeing 2 to 3% month-on-month rental increases. Just think about that in real human terms, because us as investors chase return on investment. They chase generally yield, right? When you can see yield increasing, the income you're earning from an investment increasing before your eyes, month to month, it just draws people's attention. So this is causing two things. Mum and dad's looking to rent property. Every week they're missing out on open homes, having to pay another $10 and still missing out, $10 still missing out. They look at each other and go, honey, I know interest rates are increasing at the moment, but it's still cheaper to buy this property than rent it. Let's go and at least talk to the bank manager. So that's happening now. That's happening and people are moving over to the buy side. You also have investors who are seeing this. They might see a short-term plateau in property prices over the last 3 months, only a short-term plateau. And they see asking rental prices going through the roof, and they also see yields going through the roof, and their attention swings right back onto this area. So we now have 2 extra buying pools on the short-term entry cycle of this market. First home buyers, lower price point investors, too expensive to rent, so they go to the buy side, and you now see a whole nother pool of investors coming into this market who are just chasing yield. What does this do? It keeps this short-term market top going. Whilst we have an extremely heated buy side of a market, it has a very resilient rental side of the market, giving us indications it's going to still keep pushing forward. Now, with this type of heat, with this type of recent capital growth, there are certain markets that have already well and truly hit their peak. And there are certain markets that are only just getting started. I can say we're only buying in a very small subset of locations in this local government area. We've got to get this right, guys. You come into Hillman. Hillman has been powering away, vendor discounting, it's selling, about average yield, about average, but it is on the way down. So we can see Hillman has had 16% capital growth recently, and the yield is heading on the wrong direction, whilst the local government area level data was all going up, right? Look what's happening here, local government area level. You dive into a suburb that's had really strong capital growth recently where the rents haven't been keeping up, the yields have been dropping. All right, so we need to get this L.G.A into suburb level analysis working in cohesion. And then when you find a suburb that's working, you've got to then get this street working as well. Are you buying in a street that is above average at a localised level? Or is the street going backwards in comparison to the suburb? This is a type of analysis we need to do, guys. Overall, Rockingham, WA, it has good longer term characteristics. When we understand the investment reasons or thesis for this area, it is outstanding, and the recent results have been evidence of this. There are individual suburbs in here that are providing us the strongest opportunity almost nationally for the next year or two, but you have to be able to pick your eyes out of it. There are some suburbs that are absolute basket cases right now, surrounded by other suburbs that are showing a tremendous amount of potential. We can be sucked into some suburbs like Hillman that look good, only to then go in and overpay for them or hit a market top. We've got to be able to get the right deal and not overpay. Individual suburbs and streets have very strong discrepancies in price, and we need to understand this. Hillman, for example, has one suburb, one street pocket, 5 or 6% more expensive than the one right next door. So if you're using these ones as comparables if you're using these properties here to justify a comparable here, you might be overpaying 5% right there and then, and it's only 200 metres away. That's the sort of thing that we need to be very careful of in these low to mid socio areas. Hopefully this has been useful, guys. If you have found it useful, please share this link wherever you see people talking about Rockingham, WA. Let us know in the comments any questions or further areas you'd like us to focus on. Thank you very much.